Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. I hope all is well. Before we continue our webinar, just please give me a check if you guys can see me, if you guys can hear me as well. I mean, like if you can see my screen and if you can hear me perfectly, please do give me a check by saying yes or no. Okay, great. Thank you. I see some of the familiar names are already coming up there, so it's always good to see that. So hope everyone is well. I think today's webinar couldn't have come at a better point than ever before, because now we are looking at a situation where, sorry, give me 1 second. Because we are looking at a situation where things are moving very, very fast when it comes to cryptos today. And of course, we'll be discussing all of that in a lot more detail later on. Before I do anything else, please give me so let me ask you this question to begin with. Are you guys currently trading cryptos? And if yes, what coins are you trading? Okay, so people are saying that yes, they are active in the crypto space and they are buying cryptos, and some people are saying they're buying Ethereum, some people are saying they're buying Bitcoin. I think that is really, really good, and especially today's webinar is going to be very much focused on the current price action that we are really seeing in the crypto market. I think today's price action is really, really intriguing because we have some serious sort of sell-off which is taking place in the crypto market. And of course, we'll be discussing all of that, the why that sell-off is happening, where the prices are heading. So I think it is really going to be great. So then we also have people who are saying that yes, they trade other coins as well, such as Cardano, Doge, and EOS. Okay, that's good. I mean, like all of those coins are pretty decent. So certainly they have quite a lot of potential. So it's really good. So let's begin. Before we do anything else, it is always important for me to go through this disclaimer, and that is anything which will be discussed in this particular video cannot be perceived as an advice. If you are seeking for one, please do consider consulting with your own financial advisors. The full disclaimer is right in front of you. So now just a bit of a housekeeping, which is anything which will be discussed in this video cannot be perceived as an, the contact details, which is, Twitter is right in front of you. And of course, for YouTube, that is also over here. Now, what is the agenda for today? And that is, what is Bitcoin and is it really a safe haven? What do you guys think? Do you guys think that Bitcoin is really a safe haven asset? Because I suppose we all know, because a lot of people who are in the room, they are already trading Bitcoin. So we will skip the first question. So tell me, in simple words, do you think that Bitcoin is a safe haven? I mean, today is obviously not a day that we could really say that it is a safe haven, but generally speaking, Bitcoin is classified as a safe haven asset. There is no doubt about that. There is no doubt that Bitcoin has achieved some status as a digital gold. And of course, today's sell-off is because of a lot of other reasons. And sorry, let me just read this big news is coming in. So this is the Bitcoin flow picture continues to deteriorate and is pointing to continued trashment by institution. It's perhaps too early. Okay, so I think there's a big news. Too early to character Bitcoin as oversold. For that, momentum signal will require a decline to. Okay, so this is quite an interesting one. So I'm really looking at a report from JP Morgan, which believes that Bitcoin isn't really oversold. He currently and they believe that the prices could decline to 26,000. Wow, that would be a massive crash in terms of a Bitcoin prices. Let's hope that the price doesn't cross all the way to there. But yes, so to answer what is Bitcoin is really a safe haven, yes, the brief answer is that we do consider now Bitcoin as a safe haven asset because investors believe that it has acquired the status of a digital safe haven or digital gold. So what is moving Bitcoin prices? Well, a lot of that is primarily because of two major reasons. Number one, that is that we have heard from Elon Musk, who said that okay, he's not going to accept Bitcoin for Tesla payment, and then that triggered a massive sell-off in Bitcoin prices. And then we also had a news today from China, where China is saying that it will never be accepted as a digital currency. But you know what? China never ever was going to accept that as a digital currency or as a form of a payment. So that is nothing new about that. So we don't really look to invest in Bitcoin because of that. I think the current sell-off in Bitcoin prices is very much motivating investors, motivating big time investors to really gather some momentum to really take to really bag some bargain, because the prices are extremely cheap, and we will of course discuss a lot of that in great detail shortly. Now, is the supply really limited when it comes to Bitcoin price? There is no doubt about that. The Bitcoin price is obviously limited, and you cannot print anymore. You cannot create more Bitcoin. Does anyone know that what is the current supply of Bitcoin? I know that I do ask this question quite a lot of time, but it is. I just wanted to see that if people in this group, in this area, they know that what is the full supply of Bitcoin. There you go. Excellent. Amutha said it is 21 million. That is the full supply of Bitcoin. Obviously, we are not too far from reaching that supply, and that after that there will be no more Bitcoin, and then that means that demand is only going to be shifting to the upward, and then supply cannot move any further from there onwards. Okay, so and then the next one is how big is the demand? Of course, that demand equation has shifted to some extent now, because with Tesla moving out of the market and by saying that it is not going to invest in Bitcoin anymore, or it is not going to accept Bitcoin as a form of a payment, what really that means is that okay, we may not see other companies perhaps diversifying their treasuries in Bitcoin, and that is certainly not a great news in comparison to what the situation was a few weeks back. But overall, we are still seeing a lot of institutions coming in and buying Bitcoin. As long as institutions continue to buy Bitcoin, I think the chances are that we will see more demand in the future for Bitcoin, and that is the major aspect of it. Now, defining levels and what other coins are there. So let's quickly jump into our major platform, and that is our that MT4 platform, and really see that what is going on from that perspective. So let me bring out the MT4 platform. So if you guys just give me a moment. My screen has crashed for some strange reason. It just decided to die on me all of a sudden. And in the business, okay, so can everyone still see my my screen? Is everything still okay? I mean, you guys can still hear me perfectly well? Okay, great, thank you. Right, okay, So let's look at what is happening with Bitcoin first of all before we go into something else. Now, folks, obviously, this was the area of potential bounce. This area was a potential bounce area in terms of a Bitcoin. So we were very much looking at this candle, and we were looking at the 200-day simple moving average. Now, clearly, the price has violated that price level, and it has also violated our support zone. And now we'll be looking at our next support zone in terms of a Bitcoin. Now, let me rewind the situation a little bit. Let me take a step back and then discuss a bit more things that what exactly is going on. Now, first of all, if you're wondering what is this blue sort of indicator, this is what we call your Bollinger Band. And Bollinger Bands, what they tell you is that every time the price sort of, passes the above level of this one, then that means that prices are overbought, and this usually pushes the prices to the downside. And every time the price crosses, or most of the time the price crosses below the lower line of the Bollinger Band, that means prices are oversold, and that pushes the prices back to the upside. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, we can clearly see that now there is no doubt that the price of Bitcoin is extremely, extremely oversold, because the price has pierced the Bollinger Band on the daily time frame. The price has also violated the 200-day simple moving average. The price has also violated our support zone as well. Usually what we would do is that when we have a situation like this, okay, six institutions may be, there's another headline coming in, institutions may be dropping Bitcoin for gold as BTC slips below 40,000. So JP Morgan is very much coming up. A lot of news. Let me just quickly go through this news. Give me a second. Okay, so Bitcoin, JP Morgan has really produced another very sort of a negative news on Bitcoin. Earlier we saw that so I think what they're really doing is they're looking at the situation, and they're saying that, okay, let's just pound Bitcoin as much as we can so that we can buy it as much as we can, really, because any negative news from their side is very much going to influence prices, and we are already seeing prices falling quite a lot. I think this news is not really loading up anymore. Maybe this something happened to it. But earlier, as I said, JP Morgan was talking about that the prices could drop all the way to 26,000, and that 26,000 really, what we're talking about is where this moving average is really trading in on the weekly time frame. So perhaps this is the area that they're really looking at. And then other news was, let me just look at that news once again. Forex, Bitcoin. Yeah, seems like that news has actually vanished, because I use this sort of a software to which gives me all the news. So I'm just looking at what JP Morgan has really said recently about Bitcoin price. And I really don't see that news over here anymore, because earlier, like I said, there was this news that we had JP Morgan. I've seen the report. Let me actually just look on my Bloomberg terminal and then see if we could find anything from JP Morgan on that. Bitcoin bubble. This is talking about something else. So let me just actually bring that in front of you guys so you guys can also see it. So this is the news feed from Bloomberg Terminal that I kind of really pay quite a lot of attention to. So what I'm really looking at over here is a Bitcoin bubble is popping. This is by Barron's. Bitcoin bubble is popping. CNBC tanks 20% in 24 hours. So I'm really looking for that JP Morgan news, which came out according to the report, if we can find that. because it did pop up earlier over here, which is are dumping Bitcoin going back into gold. So this was the news. Okay, so I think this news was published by CNBC earlier. I completely agree with you, Nathan. It's just a blip ride. So this news has come out earlier by, I know it was put out by CNBC. So what they're saying is that institutional investors are dumping Bitcoin in favor of gold, reversing recent trend that, okay, based on the internet CME feature, the Bitcoin flow picture continues to deteriorate, wrote in a note to a client over the past month. Okay, so you have to have a subscription really, because this is one of those pro articles. But overall, you can see that this is telling us that some report is out by JP Morgan, which is very much influencing the overall sort of action in terms of a price. Let me just quickly see if I can grab something else for that. Sorry. So, okay, so let's bring this one again on our platform. We'll just move these ones out. So we're just gonna bring this one here, this one over here. So we're really just gonna see that if we can find that JP Morgan news by someone else, and if we can really read what they have said, because apparently they're talking about that you know, the institutions may not buy, because this is my biggest fear really. Okay, well, I think that news is not there, so we'll just skip that and then we'll just continue. So my biggest fear really now is that, given the fact that Elon Musk has backed off, my biggest next fear is if institutions will stop investing in Bitcoin, because if that happened, that would be very, very big news in terms of Bitcoin, and that means much, much steeper sell-off for Bitcoin. So we are not really going to be talking about where the prices are trading right now. We're talking about the prices would be very, very much going down from there onwards. Now, let's go back and then let's start discussing the prices, where the price and the price levels. So as I was saying to you, that the lower level is pierced, and then that shows that prices are very much likely to reverse. We have already talked about something that the price has violated this one, and we have already talked about that every time the price pierces the lower level of the Bollinger Band, this is an opportunity to buy. And currently, we do see that. We saw that over here, we saw that over here as well. And the time before we saw Bitcoin price piercing the Bollinger Band, something like that was a very, very long time ago, because you can see that over here we did see that piercing really sort of coming, and then the price sort of reversed from from 9,865 to back to us that 10,000. And then after that, it was around here in March 2020 when we saw the same sort of a momentum to the downside, and the prices went to 4,500. So what we're really looking at is, can we compare this particular situation? So I'm really talking about, this particular situation over here, which happened back in March 2020, when the prices sort of went, over here, that 10,000 sort of a price level, and then the price went all the way here to 3,700 after touching that 10,000 price level. And this is during the pandemic. This all happened during the pandemic last year. So what we really, and then this was the ultimate low, multi-year low for Bitcoin right over here. So what we're really trying to see is that, is the current sell-off, is this price action is very, very similar to what we are seeing now. So that is sort of something that we're really trying to measure right now. So if we look at it over here, okay, so we see that the prices were very, very oversold at the time. Now let's compare the situation now. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a snapshot of this one. just to have our reference point. So, okay, so maybe we will take a snapshot like this. So maybe we'll take a snapshot like this. Okay, now we're gonna go towards the other side of this and we will try to compare the situation. So I want you guys to really tell me if you think that the sell-off that we saw back in, wow, do you see it? So I'm really comparing this situation, the piercing of the Bollinger Band over here, yeah? And I'm comparing that situation to what is happening now in terms of a price action over here. Which one you think is bigger? Do you think this one is bigger or do you think this one is bigger? The piercing itself. What do you guys think is worse? This is 2020, March 2020, when Bitcoin price made a low of 3,700. Okay, that Michael is saying the current one is more worse. Amutha is also saying that the current one is more worse. Okay, we have a lot of people and we have only 2 people answering the question. If you have been paying attention, if you have been listening, I want you guys to look at the situation. We have 2 answers. Which one is worse? Is this sell-off is worse or is this sell-off is worse? Nathan is saying previous one, 2021, was weaker. Margaret is saying that the current one is weaker. So we have left Previ. Okay, Bindi is saying that, Bindi, are you saying that this one was worse? This sell-off was worse? Yeah. Okay, so Zazie is saying that this one is worse. Bindi, what do you think? Do you think this one was worse or this one was worse? Because you're saying left one, so by left you mean by this one, right? Because you are talking about this one. Okay, so if we measure, if we just look at it over here, the price was, passed. So, okay, so in terms of the price action, what we can really see is that, the price started to pierce the Bollinger Band, and then the Bollinger Band sort of continued to move to the downside. The left one had through previous, so Michael is saying, Solomon is saying current one, Michael is saying